The alien armada hovered over Earth like a swarm of metal locusts, their massive warships blocking out the sun. Each one was an intricate design of brutal efficiency, humming with the low, menacing thrum of energy weapons and advanced technologies, symbols of their overwhelming power. From these colossal vessels, beams of light shot down, striking Earth's surface, igniting forests, vaporizing cities, and sending humanity into chaos. General Jirak of the Xivian Empire stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Conqueror's Blade, sneering at the tiny blue planet below. It was laughable that the humans had resisted for so long. Their primitive planet was rich in resources. Their culture seeped in myths, legends, and ridiculous superstitions. His warriors had easily crushed the first wave of Earth's defenses. Missiles and fighter jets had fallen like insects against the shielded hulls of Xivian warships. "The humans are weak," Jirak growled, his talon-like fingers digging into the edge of the command table. "Pathetic. They cower behind their legends of gods and heroes. Let them pray. Their gods will not save them." His second-in-command, Commander Vol, nodded. "They are like all the others before them. They believe in ancient magic, in myths. It is only science they should fear." But as they bombarded Earth's surface, something strange was happening. Cities were burning, but there were no human counterattacks, no armies, no frantic radio signals. Silence stretched across the planet, broken only by the sound of orbital bombardments. It was almost as if the humans had stopped fighting. "General," a nervous communications officer called out, his voice shaking, "we're picking up strange energy readings from the planet, from the northern regions, near what the humans call Scandinavia." Jirak's black eyes narrowed. "Energy readings? What kind of weaponry could these primitives possibly have?" "No known technology, sir. It's different. It feels like—" The officer hesitated, unsure how to phrase it. "It feels old. Something ancient is awakening." Deep in the frozen mountains Scandinavia, far from the bombed-out cities, an ancient temple stood, untouched by time. It had been buried beneath glaciers for millennia, a forgotten relic from an era before recorded history. Inside the temple, a single figure lay entombed in a colossal sarcophagus made of obsidian and etched with runes long forgotten by modern humans. The Xivian bombardments had triggered something within the Earth itself, a primal defense mechanism. The sarcophagus glowed with an ethereal light, and the runes began to pulse with life. In the nearby villages, old men and women whispered stories passed down through generations. Legends of an ancient god, a protector who once defended humanity in its darkest times. His name was Tyr, the one-handed god of war, vengeance, and justice. Tyr's time had come again. The sarcophagus cracked open with a thunderous boom that echoed across the frozen landscape. Ice splintered, and the ground shook. A massive armored figure slowly rose from the ancient tomb. His eyes glowed a deep red like molten fire beneath a frozen lake. His armor was ancient, forged in a time before the stars had aligned. His missing hand had been replaced by a weapon, a blade of pure energy, shimmering with deadly intent. Tyr had awoken, and the invaders would soon know his wrath. Back aboard the Xivian flagship, the strange energy readings had reached a critical point. The laughter of the Xivian commanders echoed through the corridors. To them, it was simply amusing that humans still believed in ancient gods and myths. "They believe in ghosts," Commander Vol chuckled. "Perhaps we should introduce them to real terror. Our drones can scour the planet clean." General Jirak nodded, barely interested in the strange readings. The planet's annihilation was all but certain. He gestured to his weapons officer. "Prepare the ground troops. We'll mop up the survivors." But as the order was given, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, and the command deck shook violently. A massive force was building below, and even the advanced Xivian sensors couldn't make sense of it. "What's happening?" Rock barked. The communications officer looked panicked. "Sir, we're detecting a surge of power. Directly below our position. Something is rising from the surface." "Impossible," Rock snarled. "Nothing on this planet can threaten us." But they were wrong. From the Earth's surface, a massive energy spike shot into the sky, obliterating the first Xivian warship that had dared land in the northern region. In the midst of the destruction, a figure emerged, rising from the ashes of the battlefield. Tyr, the ancient war god, had arrived. Tyr stood alone on the frozen plains, his massive form dwarfing the landscape around him. His presence exuded power, an aura of destruction and justice wrapped in one. The Xivian warships hovered above him, but he did not flinch. His eyes were fixed on the sky where the Conquerors lurked. Yurok's command ship descended from the clouds, its weapons trained on the god below. The Xivian general sneered, thinking this lone figure, no matter how strange, was no match for the technological might of his empire. "Fire!" Yurok commanded. Energy blasts rained down from the warship, the air sizzling with the heat of plasma. The ground exploded around Tyr, but he stood unmoved. He raised his hand, his one remaining hand, and the blasts froze midair. The energy crackled and then dissipated into nothingness. In a flash of motion faster than the eye could track, Tyr leaped into the sky. His energy blade blazed as he struck the underside of Jirok's flagship. The massive vessel, once considered invincible, began to crack apart like fragile glass. Jirok's sneer turned to panic. "What? What is this?" Jirok screamed, his eyes wide with terror as the ship's systems failed. "Ancient Earth's revenge," Commander Vol whispered, backing away in fear. With one final strike, Tyr's blade sliced through the heart of the flagship, sending it crashing down to the earth below in a fiery blaze. The explosion rocked the northern hemisphere, and the Xivian fleet trembled in the sky. Tyr landed gracefully back on the snow, his eyes burning with the fury of 1,000 forgotten wars. Across the planet, the Xivian invaders faced something they had never encountered before. Tyr wasn't just a myth or legend. He was the embodiment of war itself. He moved like a shadow through the battlefields, destroying entire platoons of Xivian troops with a flick of his wrist, tearing through their armored exoskeletons as though they were paper. Human resistance forces, initially caught off guard, rallied behind Tyr's unstoppable momentum. Where once there was fear and despair, now there was hope. Soldiers whispered the name of the god who had come to save them. As Tyr strode across the ruins of humanity's last cities, he felt something stirring deep within him. This war, though fought on the surface, was connected to something deeper, an ancient pact. The Xivians had awoken him, not by accident but by design. Something in their technology had triggered his return, and now, as he cut down invader after invader, the truth began to surface in his mind. The Xivians had destroyed his people long ago. In the midst of the chaos, Tyr found Jirok crawling from the wreckage of his downed ship, his once proud armor scorched and broken. The general's eyes, once full of arrogance, now held only fear. You are no human," Jirok stammered, blood trickling from his mouth. What are you?" Tyr loomed over him, his voice a deep, resonant growl. "I am the vengeance of those you slaughtered. I am Tyr, god of war and justice." Jirok's eyes widened with realization. "The legends, the ancient records, you're one of them. The old gods. Your kind was wiped out long before we set our sights on this planet." Tyr's gaze burned into Jirok. "Not all of us." With a final brutal swing, Tyr ended the general's life. The Xivian fleet, crippled by the destruction of their leader and their flagship, retreated into the depths of space. Earth had been saved, not by modern technology, but by the power of its ancient guardian. Tyr stood amidst the ruins, his eyes scanning the horizon. The war was over, but his place in this new world was uncertain. As dawn broke over the scarred planet, humanity emerged from the ashes, stronger and united in a way they hadn't been before. The legends of Tyr would once again be told, not as myths, but as history. And somewhere, deep in the mountains of Scandinavia, the war god watched over them, waiting until the next time Earth would need its protector. Tyr's final words echoed through the minds of all who had witnessed his return. To challenge Earth is to awaken its fury. We are not alone, we never were.